So fear of missing out is probably one of the biggest traits that causes traders to incur massive losses, as well as selling too soon and selling too short. In today's session, I'm going to talk about two stocks that have really rallied in the past week or so, and why traders are now going ahead of themselves by jumping into these trades. If you can already have guessed it, these two stocks are both Tesla and Broadcom. Now, in the trading room, we have managed to play both of these stocks, and we managed to make some gains out of here. But how does one ensure that the momentum is strong, and how does one ensure that they're not too late to the party? So that's going to be the key things that we're going to be talking about today. And before we get into all of that, we're going to be also discussing the trades that we have taken today, the reasons why we have taken it, and we're also going to give you guys some input on where we see the market going forward. Okay, so let's get right into it. So in today's session, we have seen a strong move on the S&P 500. It pretty much moved 20 points today, and although the intraday move was pretty choppy, I usually describe the market as it moves to all-time highs, that you will see the calls become more consistent, but they always tend to get rug pulled, okay? And there will be a minimum range. Compared to the puts give you a fast opportunity where it's not really trending, but you can make money very fast. Now, the dynamic changes once you're in a different market and so forth. But in today's session here, what we noticed here is that the S&P 500 opened at 63. Yesterday it was around 60.40, so we were up 20. You've seen a little bit of volatility here and there. But what had happened today is that we managed to play both calls and puts. And the way that we did it here is that our first trade of the day, our first thing that we did actually was sell our Broadcom calls for 240%. Now, this actually wasn't the top of the premium. The 250 call went a lot higher, okay? But regardless, when you get profits, you're able to always roll, and that's exactly what we did here, okay? Now, Broadcom right off the bat here, our estimated weekly high for this stock was set at around 250. So we decided to sell that particular trade, and we discussed it in our morning call around 242. So we mentioned all that stuff here, that the 250 call can go to 3. That was our target, and that we were looking for that as well. We were eyeing the potential of the stock going beyond 343, and this was our estimated weekly high here. Okay, so in the morning call we discussed all that information, and we also discussed many different things with the upcoming FOMC interest rate announcement that was going to move the market. So Broadcom was definitely a very awesome move that we had taken right off the bat. The next trade that we have taken here had to do with the SPX. If we go back here, so once we sold those Broadcom calls, we then placed a bunch of orders. Nothing got filled. We then took PLTR 70 put. The reason why we have taken this play here was because PLTR was showing weakness after it got added into the NASDAQ. Okay, so we played the downside here, and this was a quick play, and we knew that the estimated weekly low around 70, so we were off by 18 cents from the dot here, but we managed to make nice profits off that. Okay, so the puts were out. We took 66%. Members made profit off that as well. We called the Broadcom 260 calls at 1.46. Now, the important thing here, going back to the fear of missing out here, okay? I always tell my team that it's better to miss out on an opportunity than it is to get into a losing one, okay? So we knew that Broadcom would be a great opportunity to get in. But what we did here is that we bought those Broadcoms exactly at around 10 o'clock, so on the first dip here, okay? So when the stock had dipped, it was still around level 2 bullish. So level 2 bullish, as per my model, confirms the trend here, okay? So that's a good sign that this stock is going to be staying trending, but you want to make sure that you get an ideal dip before you jump in. So we got in around that point. We got in the 260s, and we pretty much sold around over here. Okay, we sold at around 248, and we made more than 100% off that play. So if we go back, you can see that as well. We decided to take NVIDIA 123 puts. This was going to be a swing because what we noticed here as well, that NVIDIA continuously seeing a downtrend moving forward. It managed to hold our 131. It did see a couple of dips here, but if it really just breaks down that 130, you're possibly going to see 128 and 126 on the stock. So what I believe is happening to NVIDIA is that because this was one of the best performers in the S&P 500, and this is the final OPEX of the year, they're doing a rebalance and they're selling this off, and they're pretty much allocating this capital into winners like Broadcom and Tesla that had a bad start to the year but now are having a good start. Okay, so I also ended up taking Tesla calls here that were also swinging. Now this here is a perfect example of fear of missing out here. Okay, you know the Tesla calls are expensive. You know that if you don't jump in, you're gonna miss the boat here. Okay, so jumping into Tesla, we bought the high of the day premiums, and it still managed to do all right. It was holding premiums, but based on our model here, we know that Tesla has an estimated weekly high of 470, but it has extensions to go around 492. So the key to not missing out and also get into opportunities when they present itself is ensuring that you do your homework. Okay, doing your homework over the weekend, it tells me that Tesla has a range and the capacity for my 490s to work out, because the 490s are over there. If it hits that 490 late, that's the issue, but Tesla really tends to ramp up, and you can see right now it's up 2% pre-market here. So you know, if it hits 484 by tomorrow, perfect exits in the bullish breakout zone, and we're going to be watching that very carefully. Okay, you also want to consider how much profits you have, are you able to roll, and whatever the case is. Okay, the next trade that we also were looking at in great detail was a various different SPX plays. Okay, so we had decided to take the SPX 6090 call, and that play, we got into that because we noticed that, you know, with the S&P 500 looking very strong, that we could play a nice little scalp opportunity here. Okay, so we taken that trade at around 1 p.m. and we played the pop at around 60.84 to the upside, you know, close to 60.85, and we managed to really make a great return off that. And by that time, we sold both our Broadcom and our SPX calls. Okay, so those were both 120%. This is a roll up, so we got 100% of that, and the 6090 calls also was 126. Okay, so not a bad start today. Two flawless winning trades that we are definitely banking on as well. Okay, we also decided to take the PLTR 74 call a little late, and the reason for this play here is because it looked like that the market makers once again were buying the dip here, and this trade actually went to 50% as well. So that was a nice, it hit our minimum standard target, but we're still swinging. We took these SPX 60-70 puts near the end of the day because SPX did not hit any sort of inflection points, and we noticed that there was weakness in different stocks. So we had taken that play. It went down 50%, but we made the size very small. We're playing with profits, and that's when we banked another 130% here. Okay, so we're only swinging Tesla, NVIDIA, MSTR calls from last week. They're still down slightly, but overall, we banked 2 plays on SPX. Peltier, 2 plays on that. We're still swinging the 74 calls, but those both plays hit minimum 50% return, and Tesla 490s. So we're pretty much set up in the right base here moving forward here. Okay, and we still got our NVIDIA puts as well. Now, based off that here, how do you know if a stock is going to be bullish or bearish moving forward? Okay, so first thing you want to ask yourself, what's the news? Okay, is there any particular news trend, or the news could be related to the stock itself, or it could be related in the industry as well. Okay, so for semiconductors like Broadcom, it has nothing to do with the industry as a whole. This has to do with more of their earnings. Okay, so their earnings ramp up was caused because of the CEO's guidance when he said that he can make like a couple million clusters, which represents billions and billions of dollars in revenues. Okay, so this year we did our homework. It had a very strong open, pretty much sliced through my numbers like butter, and then pretty much caved over here. Okay, or pretty much paused over here. It may end up Broadcom, you may even see it go to 285 and possibly higher, but pretty much what you know here is that, you know, even though this thing continues to soar, you see that there's many opportunities for a dip here. Okay, you had this 30-minute candle that really pumped it up, and when you see a large 30-minute candle, just give it a little bit of time. Okay, look for the ideal entry point. You use your WAP, use your short term, because right over here, this is my long-term map. This is where I plan the levels, all that stuff. This is my short-term entry and execution. So having this side by side is very helpful here, because this here tells me that I do love Broadcom, because according to my map and model, it hit level 2. That confirms the trend, and pretty much we're going to be watching for another entry on that. Okay, because by waiting for the dip, I managed to get a roll up with profits that also gave us another 100%, right, which is a great thing. So that's what you always want to do. Now here on Tesla here, the news has been great because of Elon's association with Trump here, and what you want to see is that you want to have additional start off parameters. Okay, because Tesla tends to run really fast here, and it's been running consecutively non-stop. So one thing you can do here is look at the MACDs here. Okay, so if I click this over here, when you start to see that, let's do a replay here. So assuming that you can't see what happened in the past here, if we do a review here and we play this, okay, so what you see right over here on the 30 minutes, you see a little bit of strong momentum here, and it looks like Tesla wants to rip. Okay, so as soon as that happens, you have an idea that this can potentially go. Now so far this is in my chop range, and this occurred on Friday. Okay, so this is what happened Friday. So you see that early signs that it may move up, and at this point here, when you start to see that little snake opening mouth like that, that's when you know the momentum is going to be strong here. Okay, and on top of that, now the MACDs is hard to see because you don't really know when the momentum can switch at any point, but looking at these numbers here, I see my inflection numbers hitting, I see my inflection numbers breaking. That's when I know exactly that it's going to go, and we want to get into this ASAP. Okay, so watch that. You start to see it rip. It's going up non-stop, you know, having a hard time around this 260 zone as per the model as well, and you can kind of see that the momentum is slowing down here, but it can eventually, now that it's up around 272 here pre-market, it can continue to move higher moving forward here. Okay, so I hope this information was very informative for you guys. You know, we killed it today. 2 SPX plays. We are in NVIDIA puts, Tesla calls, PLTR calls. PLTR, we nailed it. 2 trades in a row, 2 trades on Broadcom, and the members are banking, right? So in my room, like I always say, I consider or acknowledge a trade's bad if it doesn't hit the minimum 50% target. So we have that on our tracker. We watch it very consistently, and we always give our trades ahead of time, and we discuss it all in the morning call. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one, and like always, let's get that money.